Okay, I think we're live. That's a good start. Who's already here? Patman and Luke, hello to you. Just popping out the chat so I can keep track of who's here and what's being discussed in a possibly disgusting manner. How's AD? I think he's okay. He's pretty excited at some of the upcoming video projects we have planned. I'm pretty excited too, to be honest. I think that tomorrow's my last day of work. The office is doing a 2-week shutdown, something that's become increasingly common in the last few years. Shut down for 2 weeks over Christmas, New Year's, and I was just thinking today, I set myself a positive goal. I might, even try and do a video every day. I don't know, it's not that big a deal. I've done that for a month in the past. Doing it for 2 weeks shouldn't be that hard. But I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to have a positive frame of mind and do things. So maybe if I set myself a goal, I'll do things. And hello, Wolfer, how are you? I have my festive eggnog. See, it's a slightly funny color, because I have my red chili rum in it. So it's got a weird, slightly pink color. So, the chili's offset by the eggnog. Mimsy's just showing her butt to us. At least her tail's not up. She was paying attention to me a bit earlier. She might turn around at some point. She might decide, no, she's just going to sleep, and that's it. CrossFit Christmas vagina. You have a very good memory. Well, I could, because January's got a J in it. So January's one month. But my love of silly acronyms, laboured acronyms, I came up with once doing, for instance, for January, doing video every day in January if nothing arises. So attempting to do a video every day, but acknowledging that might not happen. And that became the acronym vagina, because I have a very shallow sense of humor. Patman, yes, live streams would definitely count as the videos. So the days I do live streams, that would be the video for the day. But I have had a lot of ideas recently, and I should execute them. So even if I don't do them every day, I think it's reasonable to say there will be for want of a better word, a spurt of videos over the next couple of weeks. So, I mean, Musical Aviator, white just before Christmas tonight. I'm intrigued. What is that? Hail? Is it hailing in Sydney, or are you making some mysterious reference that I don't understand? I'm not really an eggnog person. It was completely arbitrary getting eggnog, because it's Christmas and that's the only time they have eggnog on the shelves, and so I decided to get it. And they have all these ones rum flavored. No, it's probably not real rum in it, because they can't just sell that in the supermarket. The rum flavor, some of them even branded with Bundaberg rum. I have to look at them more closely and see if there's an actual alcohol content. Music Aviator, the weather outside is frightful. Yeah, it's hail. Okay, I got it. Cool. Patman, would I record multi-videos in one session? There is a reasonable chance that would happen. You're a very perceptive man. On days when I'm feeling motivated, I might make multiple videos. Now, I've got a couple people who they didn't completely commit, but they pretty much said they'd make some videos with me. AD is unsurprisingly one. Josh, I've made some videos before. I was in the live stream the other night. I'm going to corral him into it. And the Agro Pixie, Amy, who's in the live chats often, kind of promising. And I did bump into Viola. For those who've watched my videos a long time, remember I used to make videos with Viola and Eva. We were talking about, you know, relationships and sex and such like. Oh, how long is that stupid troll account going to last? Not longer. I will only say an obvious troll putting Lyle Shelton in their username. I love that in Australia, he's such a worthless piece of shit, and people take great glee in shutting him down. It's become an instant hashtag. Whenever he does anything stupid or something happens that he won't like, and the first big one was the marriage equality vote, the hashtag eat shit Lyle trends in Australia every time. Every time something happens he won't like, or he does something fucking stupid, the hashtag eat shit Lyle trends in Australia, which I absolutely love. Patman, Christmas Code Grey. Look, maybe we keep talking about scripting a web series version of Code Grey, like maybe 10-minute episodes. And so we might do that over the holidays, you know. I think he tried to cram too much into a 1-hour show. I think what we'd probably do as a web series, it would probably end up being 10-minute episodes. It would be at least 8 10-minute episodes. But I actually suspect, because we plotted it out once, I suspect it would be 10-minute episodes. I suppose I should tell the boring fucking troll the cardinal sin here is being boring. And I also don't give warnings, because you're a boring, pathetic troll who just wants to waste people's time. So that shan't be happening tonight. Not with that one. It was just like, and as would be typical for a troll who would say pro Lyle Shelton things, that fuckwit turned out to be a climate change denier as well. CrossFit Bum, we didn't get the grant to do that series. Well, you know what? We can always apply again. We may well do that. So, but you know, we're YouTubers. We do stuff on a zero budget anyway. And potentially, if we did a proof of concept of it, we could potentially get some bridging funding to either finish it or do a high budget version of it. So we should definitely do it. It's really interesting. I don't know if anyone's ever done any work on scripting something or turning something, particularly adapting a story to a screenplay or a web series. There's a dozen, there's 100 ways you can do it. So the door is wide open for it. Yeah, CrossFitter, we could do a Kickstarter. Luke, what eggnog did I get? I don't know, just something from the supermarket. The only unflavored one they had. Hey, there you go, Patman, you're thinking of a Kickstarter too. Look, possibly, but to succeed in a Kickstarter, you need to network pretty hard. And I mean, AIDSy does have a network. But look, maybe even just coming up with the concept would give us the motivation to maybe, you know, go for crowdfunding. Look, no, I didn't say prior to you asking what eggnog I got. It's just, you know, eggnog. And the flavor, oh my God, the chili, because I put my chili rum in here. For those who don't know, I besides having all those for making cocktails, I often make my own flavors with beverages. And I particularly favour, there's a shop that makes their own rock candy. They're just off Chapel Street in Pran, and they have some exotic flavors in their rock candy, and they do a chili one, a sweet and sour chili, and it's got actual real chili oil in it. Like if you have one of these, you'll know it's got chili in it. And I often dissolve that and drink. I've got my red rum there, and I also did it with some bourbon. So it's like my version of Fireball. And hello, Angry. Yeah, look, apparently rum is traditional. The other one is brandy, and I do have some brandy. So if I have another eggnog, I might put some brandy in it and see what that tastes like. So those are apparently the two most traditional beverages to put in eggnog: rum and brandy. So this is a chili rum one. So I might try a brandy one later. Ross, that's an interesting out there question. How do we solve the China problem? Do we refuse to trade with them? Don't send them calls, not an answer. I'm intrigued as to what you regard the China problem to be. And hello, Keiko. Nice to see you. Good morning to you. It's good evening to me, of course. Just after 8 in the evening here. CrossFit, you're in the brandy custard. You see, I could have got brandy custard because they had brandy flavored custard, but I've got my own brandy, so I'm going to make my own. YouTube's trolling you. I got that one too. Maybe Stephen Crowder paid to have that as promoted video. I don't know. Ross, you saw it too. There you go. Justin, you think Ross is asking about the concentration camps in China? And Milk My Mantics, hello. Yes. Oh, okay. You're saying Cafe Petron. I don't like coffee as a flavor. I've had Patron tequila before. God, I actually don't think I've got. Oh, I've got mezcal, which is tequila's smokier cousin. I don't have any straight up tequila at the moment, which seems like a shortfall. Maybe I should get some for New Year's Eve. Ross, do I honestly believe coal is just going to ramp down the coal power plants out of morality? Not out of morality, but to save their environment, yes. You see, the thing with being an authoritarian regime like China, you can just say shit's going to happen. You don't have to say to people, come on, we should stop with the coal-fired plants. We should stop with so much pollution. China can and has in the past literally said, no one's driving cars today. We've got to clean the air up. And China has the wherewithal to completely turn things around and change how they generate their power. There is a great big question of will they? I'm not sure what public pronouncements they've made recently. I was under the impression they were looking for ways to divest themselves of a lot of coal-generated energy and to try and go for more renewables. Wouldn't swear to that on a stack of Bibles. Well, I would, because the Bible is no more meaningful to me than any other book. You know, there are in fact other books that matter much more to me. And if I was asked to swear an oath on them, I'd take that more seriously than one on the Bible. But Russ, what in the ever-loving fuck are you going on about? Think fucking our own economic status is a good idea in the hope that China will listen. What in the ever-loving fuck are you talking about? What's my cat doing? She's cleaning herself. Just putting on a show for the audience. Everyone's watching, Mimsy. Okay, I just want you to know, everyone's watching you do that. So yes, why not? She's a cat. That's what cats do. Um, and she seems to be getting really into it too. And I learned something about cats the other day. And some cats have this saggy thing on their belly, and it doesn't mean they're fat. Both of my cats had it. It's very weird. It's this saggy thing that jiggles when they run. And yeah, it's a thing. It's not just my cats are weird. It's a thing some cats have. And I forgot what it's called, but yeah. Keiko, you ever view the ginger cats are the friendliest? Well, Mimsy's the rarity in that she's a female ginger. The overwhelming majority of gingers are male, and I don't know why that is, but that's apparently true, that most gingers are male. But Mimsy is the rarity, the female ginger. Okay, you actually grew up with a cattery. Okay, and the gingers are the friend. Well, she's pretty friendly, and Shadow, who's a grey cat, is not friendly. She's really timid and weird and suffering from PTSD, and will come over to you and say, sit on your, but she'll never settle down. She'll like stand on your lap and move around and not settle down and then bugger off. Whereas Mimsy will settle down next to you. Shadow tends to sleep on our bed during the day when we're not there, whereas Mimsy will sleep on the bed at night when I am there, but Shadow won't do that. Luke, if you've seen Shadow Cam, not on a live stream, but when she was a kitten, which was like 8 years ago, I did make a few videos that I put up on YouTube, and they're still there, of her being really cute. Ross, forcing ourselves to drive up power prices for sake of... Oh, Jesus H. Titty fucking Christ, that's a moronic fucking comment. Forcing up our power prices for the sake of saving the planet. For that tiny consideration. Holy fucking shit, that's a stupid thing to say. And what is this fucking obsession you have with China doing the same? What the fuck is driving that? What ridiculous fucking propaganda have you been deep-throating? Russ Smith, what's wrong with Clive Palmer's plan? His head's up his ass and he never makes any sense. Justin, I like that. Your granddad had a fat orange cat visiting called, which of course you would call Garfield. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think you're right, KK. We're talking about cats now. This fucking moronic shit is going to stop one way or the other. We're just talking about cats and how cool they are. Now she settled down. That's good. She's showing us about and then putting on a show with her cleaning routine, and now she's just settled down. So that's what she's going to sleep for. And it is, I was discussing this with Mrs. Angry the other day, that she sits there a lot. Like I seriously, I didn't pick her up and put her there for this thing, and I'm not holding her there. She sits up there a lot. There's something I think about that surrounding bit that she likes, makes her feel safe. But it's a somewhat precarious place for her to sit. And she sits there a lot. Yeah, Ross, fuck off, okay? Naughty chair. Yes, nicely put, Wolfer. Leadership. This bullshit of, I'm not going to do it, you know, I'm just, when people are saying shit that stupid, I'm not going to indulge them. Keiko, what's Christmas like? It is, in fact, the hottest time of the year. January is sometimes hotter than December, but it's, look, you can get weird things. It can be cooler on Christmas. I think a lot of Australian cities are expecting temperatures of over 30 Celsius on Christmas this year. It can vary. It can be quite mild, like only about 20 Celsius, or you can get a really brutal 40 Celsius Christmas. I think we're somewhere in the middle this year. Musical Aviator, a conservative solution to global warming, part 1 by Potholer 54. I am intrigued. Can you give a one-sentence summary of it? I mean, if you're talking conservative, I assume we're talking conservative economically. And so from a real conservative economic point of view, what we should stop letting companies get away with is causing pollution and not paying for the cleanup, because that's a massive fucking scam. These companies that generate power and cause masses of pollution that someone has to clean up with, but they don't take any financial responsibility for a problem they caused. So I would think, in terms of conservative economics, we go user pays. If you cause pollution, you also have to pay to clean it up. Yes, no, but you're saying that ridiculous implication that, oh, I think they're not doing anything, so we won't do anything, is just stupid, and it's not worth entertaining. There's no value in people who talk like that. Because the future, that like all the indications we have, if you don't fucking care about people, which is a very weird way to go through life, to not care if people, as in everyone, lives or dies, the economic impact of climate change in the next century is expected to be in the trillions of dollars. Extreme weather, flooding, crop loss, and war, as people run out of resources and are going to want someone else's resources. So anyone who was fiscally responsible would be doing everything in their power now, because even massive efforts required now, but it's basically like every dollar spent now in trying to reduce the effects of climate change, is worth $100 in the future of desperately trying to survive when catastrophic change has already happened. It makes conservative fiscal sense to invest in technologies that will help us avert the worst of climate change, and it makes conservative fiscal sense to ditch things that are causing the problem. And but all the people who talk about the being conservative, they don't match any traditional definition of conservative political and economic thought. It's all just short-term, self-centered bullshit that you get people who destroy companies because they'll get a bonus in 6 months, even if the company goes under in 2 years. If you're just creating a stable company that isn't growing massively, but you're structuring it so it'll still be around in 100 years, you're regarded as a lesser business leader than someone who's able to create the appearance of massive growth in their company, but it's completely unsustainable and the company will cease to exist in 5 years. Actually, what is that? It's absolute bullshit, and it's absolutely unsustainable. And it doesn't make any sense, but people have got their head up their ass. Justin, would I support lab-grown meat? You do rightly point out meat production is a very big problem with emissions. I'm absolutely, you know, there's like this huge scope for lab-grown meat to go wrong. I can't really, you know, it's just that sort of vague fear of, it sounds like something could go wrong, but I'd be 100% on it. Look, what we're going to end up with in the future if we don't stop the bloody species extinction we're causing now, we won't even be eating cows or pigs because they'll die out. We'll be eating bugs and plankton. We should get bugs. I mean, and there, I know there are people working on it because throughout large parts of Southeast Asia, bugs have been popular food for ages. There's lots of people talking about developing foods for, you know, the West, where the base of it is ground up bugs. Apparently it's quite healthy. I'd be into that. I don't know. So misfoxification, China's doing heaps for renewables. That's, yeah, I was under the impression they were taking it quite seriously. But yeah, I naughty chaired a boring person who wouldn't shut the fuck up. That is also a good point, Keiko. A lot of the hangover of colonial thinking in the West, who think that, yeah, people thinking they can moralize about what happens in the East. It's a it is a problem, but yes. Tender saying the French are ahead what in terms of renewables? Is that what we're saying? Yeah, and that's the thing, misfoxification. China is investing in renewable technology because it's profitable. This is the thing. If you cut out all the subsidies and loans that prop up the coal industry in particular, it simply isn't profitable long term. Renewables have a much better profit profile for the long term, not to mention, you know, lessening the risk of human extinction. Yeah, the profit is to be had with investment in renewables. There's no long-term profit to be had with investment in coal. There just isn't. Yeah, Ms. Laglavia, you're right. A lot of the solar tech's coming out of China. They're making money from it, and it's, you know, makes sense. Oh, Tendai, the French are ahead of most Western countries in eating bugs. I didn't know that's what you meant. I had to put those two sentences together. It took me a little while for my brain to. I did not know the French were doing a lot of bug eating. I am in Keiko. Snowpiercer is the future. That is a fun movie. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. Snowpiercer is a train. Basically, the world's succumbed to severe climate change. You know, places near the equator, a desert, places in the northern reaches are just all under snow. And Snowpiercer is this long train that's self-sustaining, and it just keeps going. It's got this really long track it runs around. Oh, you just had to come back, Mimsy. It's got this really long track it runs around, and it's just always moving. And it's got its own society in it, but it's very stratified. There's, you know, the exploited workers are down one end, and they want a better life. And what's his name? Chris Evans, guy's Captain America. He's a lead character in Snowpiercer. And basically, the downtrodden masses decide to have an uprising, and they're going to fight their way through the train to a better life. And it's great because it's like a video game. It's levels. Like each carriage is a level. It has its own for them to conquer a carriage. It has its own challenge and usually a mini boss. It is very deliberately structured like a video game. It is really entertaining. And talking about it makes me want to watch it again, actually, because I haven't watched it. I think I've only watched it once. I haven't watched it for a while. But It is good. It's an entertaining movie, and it's a good piece of social commentary as well. There you go, Musical Aviator. China gets a quarter of its power from renewables, mostly from hydro. Oh yeah, with their building of massive dams and also buildings they keep doing. They apparently use more concrete than the rest of the world combined. They're just using massive amounts of concrete. They were just huge infrastructure projects. Yeah, how much does she like that? This Foxification, what's that? There's a game called Frostpunk. Is that a board game, a role-playing game, video game? I used to do role-playing games. I haven't for ages, but I play video games occasionally. The last role-playing game I played was a post-apocalypse sci-fi one called Paranoia, and it's great. Okay, Keiko likes it when I scratch you, Mimsy. Soothes her soul, so you get more. Soothes Mimsy's soul. Look how much she enjoys that. Oh, Miss Foxification, it's a computer game. Okay, I shall look for it. And you just maybe talking about punk and apocalypse ones just reminded me of this role-playing game Paranoia, and it's aptly named Paranoia because basically you're a post-apocalypse society that's run by the all-seeing computer. And when you get the backstory of the game, yes, is post-nuclear war, which is called the Big Oops, where all the missiles flew. And it turns out your computer was actually responsible for launching all the nukes because your computer is quite insane. And you've been living underground for generations, and the computer sends you on quests, and basically you're being downtrodden by this computer. But if you try and rebel against it, you're going to get wasted because you have clones. You have 6 clones in the game because you die. There's no two ways about it. There is nothing you can do in the game to avoid dying because the game master can just kill you arbitrarily whenever. And there's 2 key things. It's illegal to belong to a secret society, and it's illegal to be a mutant. And everyone's in a secret society, and everyone's a mutant. So, but if anyone else in your party sees evidence that you're one of these things, if they don't declare you a traitor, they look like a traitor. So you basically, as the game master, you completely stop the players working collaboratively. It's so much fun to mess with them. Like, yeah, you give them guns and stuff, and something happens, and they're in a fight. There's someone they're supposed to shoot, and if someone like rolls a critical fail, like a really bad attack roll, I would always do things like, well, what's the worst possible thing that they could do in this world? We'll shoot a computer terminal because that's symbolic of attacking the computer. So whenever they were shooting, if someone did a critical fail, I'd have them like shoot a computer monitor and tell everyone they just shot a computer monitor, and they go, oh, and then I'd hit them in, and you could swear you heard them say something like death to the computer while they did it, just to get them to turn on each other and kill each other because it's so much fun. And you give them things that sound good but are useless or dangerous. Like one of them gave the weapon, it was a thermonuclear hand grenade, and it was about the equivalent of a kiloton of explosives, which has a fatal range of about 1 kilometer, but it's a hand grenade. So you can only throw it a few meters. So it's pretty useless because if you ever use it, you're going to kill yourself. So yeah, we'd had one game going for a few hours, and we were just it's clearly winding down. We'd been going all night and everyone was a bit tired. And yeah, the person who had the nuclear hand grenade took the hint that we wanted to finish the game, and they just went, I pulled the pin out of my hand grenade. And everyone goes, so what? And I went, oh, that's a nuclear hand grenade. Yeah, game over. You're all dead. So Misfoxication gave me thing of game set in an alternate, was it 1896, where the eruptions of Krakatoa and Tambora, dimming of the sun, unknown factors called worldwide volcanic winter, caused crop failure, death of millions. Oh yes. Frostpunk's attempts, gripping, often stressful survival strategy game, filled with difficult, sometimes unthinkable choices. It's tough to play, but even tougher to stop. 89 out of 100. Ooh, I might have a look at that. That does sound kind of interesting. Oh, Keiko saying there's actually a game of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I didn't know. Yes, it's based on the famous story, short story, the Harlan Ellison one. For those who don't know, the short version is it's also a post-apocalypse thing, and there are a few surviving humans in an underground thing where they're actually under the control of a computer that hates them because humans caused the destruction, and the computer hates the humans and basically tortures them all the time but won't let them die. And yeah, Harlan Ellison was pretty good at doing dark stuff, but I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is pretty fucked up, honestly. But yes. All right, so we're maybe checking out the Frostpunk game. Oh, Tendai, you think they even got Harlan Ellison to voice the computer in I Have No Mouth? Well, it was a few years ago because he died a couple of years ago. He was a notoriously grumpy guy, which, as you can imagine, I really identify with. I am a fan of. What he famously did once, because what he was good, he mostly wrote short stories, but he wrote a lot of scripts too. And what he was very good at was either being a script doctor, like fixing up a shitty script really quickly, or developing a shitty concept into a good script very quickly. And this thing was in the 80s. The TV studio, one of the big ones like CBS or something, they developed this idea, they brought the right idea of a character from a video game comes into the real world, and it was like an action comedy series they had in mind, but they couldn't get a decent script together, and someone said Harlan Ellison can do that. So Harlan came in and negotiated a contract and said, okay, I'll write a pilot for you, and that'll be $10,000 to write that script, and if this goes to series, I get a payment of $100,000. And they said, sure, signed a contract. And he wrote them a pilot, and they went, oh, this is what, but then they said to him, oh, we don't like it. We don't like it. We're not going to use it. And he goes, that's okay. I'll take the $10,000. I don't care. And then a year later, the show comes on TV, and it's definitely comes straight from the pilot script he wrote. So the fact that it's gone to series means they owe him $100,000. So he calls them up and goes, where's my $100,000? They go, we didn't use yours. And he goes, fuck off, you didn't use mine. You definitely used my idea. It's right there. I kept a copy of the script. You can't screw me. We got a contract. And what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the traditional media, TV, film, music industry, will fuck over creative people just because they can. AIDSy has a theory, it's because they're jealous, because the people who control the money in those industries, the suits, don't have a creative bone in their body, and they hate that people can do this thing that they can't do, and they'll be very spiteful to writers, directors, actors, musicians, everyone, because they're pieces of shit. And they basically thought, well, we're a great big company. What are you going to do about it? He says, I'm going to sue you. And he goes, and they say, you'll never get any work in Hollywood again if you sue us. And he goes, I don't fucking care. I don't care if I never work in Hollywood again, but you pieces of shit aren't getting away with this. And they went, oh, ho, 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 you won't do it. And he sued them. And of course, he won because it was incredibly straightforward. It was a very clear contract, and they were very clearly in breach of it. And he won the lawsuit. And you know what he did with the money? He bought a huge billboard on the highway that these guys would go down every day on their way to work. And he just had their names, these, I think it was like 4 to 6 key executives. He had their names printed on it, and under it something like, these people tried to screw me over and they didn't get away with it. Ha, ha, ha. And he had enough money to keep this billboard up for like a year, a really prominent billboard that these guys were just getting humiliated every day. Everyone in Hollywood would see this billboard every day. And that's how grumpy Harlan Ellison was. Okay, how's AT doing? He's doing fairly well. We have some projects coming up. I'm going to try, because I've got 2 weeks, mentioned this right at the start, I have 2 weeks off work coming up, and I'm going to try and produce as much as possible in that time, which means both producing videos that I can knock out quickly, but also probably developing some more complex ideas, possibly including Code Grey. We had an idea, God, we've had so many hundreds of ideas over the years, and one that just popped back into my head, and this is from years ago, where we were just coming up with silly concepts. We invented a heavy metal band called Imagine the Girth. And we even came up with some really stupid song titles of theirs. And so I pitched AZ, we should just bring Imagine the Girth back. But it'd be like a retrospective documentary. And his twist on it, which I think is good and we'll go with, is we're going to be interviewed, but we're not actually the members of Imagine the Girth. We're a couple of record studio executives who are reminiscing about all the wild things that happened with Imagine the Girth, all the drugs, death, and mayhem that always surrounded Imagine the Girth. So we've got to work out how to do that. Probably get some help from some other local YouTubers to help us record that. You know, they maybe act as the documentary crew, you know, making an Imagine the Girth documentary. But I always liked that as a band name because it wasn't you know, most bands are a noun, regularly often with a the in front of it. Not all bands, but you know, whether it's the Queen or whatever. And there's something I like a bit more about band names that aren't a noun. You know, like Panic at the Disco, or I'm sure there are other examples. Or like Rage Against the Machine. That's not a noun. So stuff like that. It's just something I like more about band names that aren't nouns, not the something. You know, the Ramones, the Rolling Stones, the this, the that, the other. Yes, that could be appropriate misfoxification. Imagine the Girth playing fat tunes. But yes, I think what we will probably do, we'll not so much script these Imagine the Girth interviews, but talk through them before making them. Like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, and then just have a camera running and freeform and riff on absolutely ridiculous shit. And so you might know, if you're watching this and my ability to talk for 2 hours without much trouble, then you might imagine that AZ and I together are quite capable of free-forming and riffing on ideas without too much trouble at all. So what we'll probably do is record a huge amount of us rambling and talking about things and coming up with the strangest, most outrageous stuff we can, and yeah, just edit it to get the funniest stuff. You know, of course, there'll be hours of funny stuff, you know, but yes, being able to edit is a wonderful thing. So we'll be doing that. Speaking of videos I might produce, I got in a sale, you know, one of those 360-degree cameras, because it was half price, and I thought, yeah, that's a Christmas present to myself. And also because my editing software edits 360 video. I've never tried to, but I see the function in it. So, hey, edit 360-degree video. So I have to work out how to do it, experiment a little bit. I got the camera up and running today. Like, it runs off the smartphone. So I installed the app on the smartphone and got it to work. So I now have a plan of, you know, some more attention, of shooting some 360-degree video. I'll probably do some walkarounds, like the art laneways in Melbourne, you know, a guided tour of the art laneways. Okay, oh, yes, okay. Christmas presents to yourself are good. Oh, you got yourself a new violin. That's great. That's fantastic. Is there nobody band name that involved the and a noun? If band was called The Adjective. No, actually, I like that. I like that. A band called The Adjective. That has layers of meaning. I'm on it. Was that misclassification? An amazing 360 vid to show off. Search YouTube for VR 360 Gravity. Alan Watts. Okay. Okay, yeah. So we're all doing the self-care, self-Christmas present buying. This Foxification got a new e-reader. Nice. All right. Mimsy's got a new human to scratch her. Yes, she's just super happy with that. Oh God, then of course we've got to all think about, what are we doing for New Year's Eve? I almost never do anything of note on New Year's Eve. I hate there being pressure on a night out. You know, like New Year's Eve just seems like too much pressure. Like, you've got to go out and have a big night and have a wild time. Like, I don't want that much pressure on a night out. You know, if I'm going out, I just want to go out. I don't want there to be this artificial pressure on you. Got to go out and have a big night. It's got to be wild. Yeah. Tendai, what did Disney try to do? Disney tries to do all sorts of things. Oh my God, being so demanding. That's okay. Everyone likes that you're coming and get all the attention, don't they? Yes. Disney does all manner of weird things. Musical Aviator, your last going out for New Year's Eve was 1999. I don't think I even went out in 1999. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe that means I did, and that's why I can't remember it. Yeah, sometimes I go to someone's place. Sometimes I just stay at home. And I have no idea of what may or may not happen this year. Oh my God, you're so demanding. I don't know, make a couple drinks, have a bit of a night, not put too much pressure on. Okay, just going away for a bit. But yeah, I'm not a fan of nights out that have too much pressure on them. Tender, they tried to trademark Hakuna Matata. Okay, and yes, they tried it with Day of the Dead, which I guess was tied up with the movie Coco, they try to trademark that imagery. Yeah, Disney lawyers are scum. There's no two ways about it. The misfoxification, multiple terror threats for New Year's Eve, and also pubs and clubs are generally shit. Stay home. Yeah, I think there is a lot to be said for staying home on New Year's Eve. Justin, you were 10 years old in 1999. Justin, I say this with love, but fuck you, man. Fucking hell, good Lord. Pat, man, yes, I did title this video in the mocking the idiots who think that saying happy holidays or something is the war on Christmas, or people talking about being triggered. But you may be surprised to know that in general, I don't go around trying to mess with people. Ah, yes, that's right, Musical Aviator. That Ice House performance at the Opera House. I think now from memory, I watched that on TV. I wasn't in Sydney. I think I watched that on TV. Maybe I watched a replay of it. I can't remember. But yes, they really, the Sydney Harbour New Year's Eve for Y2K was pretty over the top. Yeah, see, KK, just because Disney trying to trademark anything to do with the Day of the Dead is not just ridiculous, but also offensive, it doesn't mean they wouldn't try and do it. Because, yes, Disney lawyers are shit, basically. Misfoxification, you know, how did anyone get triggered? No, no one does. It's just like, you know, some people say, and it particularly makes sense in the US, where, you know, this whole, you know, 2 months is referred to as the holiday season. It makes sense to say happy holidays because then you're covering everything. I know for all these idiots who claim about, oh, it's like political correctness gone mad. I know when I was a kid, used to play with these rubber stamp sets. Like, you know, they had pictures on them and whatnot. And these things dated from the 60s, if not the 50s. Like, they weren't bought for me. They were old when I found them and play with them. You know, I'd just blank pieces of paper and I'd just be doing the rubber stamps and making pictures for it. And yeah, misfoxification, season's greetings. There were stamps for making your holiday cards that said season's greetings. And this dated from, you know, the 50s, 60s. That was a standard thing to say. And it was literally, it was just like, that covers everything. If you're just straight up Christian, that covers Christmas and New Year's. You know, it's the season that it's for. But because so many other religious festivals and holidays happen around that time, the traditional thing was season's greetings. So if you want to be traditional, that's way more traditional than Merry Christmas. And yes, Justin, the Christmas festival is the Midwinter Yule festival that predates Christianity, is various pagan festivals, and the Christians hijacked it. They did that a lot, still do that. Missionaries to various parts of the world hijack existing religions and beliefs and practices and say, oh, you know what this is? This is really Christianity. I'll explain. What you call this God is actually Saint Christopher or whatever, and they hijack local religious festivals and holidays and say, that's really Christian. You've always been Christian. You just didn't realize it. Very, very long tradition of that. So, Batman, any sad little beings done an attack video? I assume you mean lately, because, of course, over the years, it's happened a lot. I think it's been a month or so since the last one was actually a little bit freaky and disturbing. As someone having a go at the video I made about Louis C.K. and what a piece of shit he is, because he's a piece of shit. He was my favorite comedian for years, and then you find out the truth about him and go, wow, what a piece of shit. Yeah, so this guy who, God, it'd be polite to call him a rape apologist, but he's made these things saying, no, Louis C.K. didn't do anything wrong. We're going to tell this guy that Louis C.K. didn't do anything. So I've had to deal with a trail of these creepy as fuck rape apologists for about the last month. So yeah, that's a really creepy variation on a theme. Nobody is Santa Claus is a false idol. That's true, and in fact, lots of Christians do actually get quite aggro about representations of Santa Claus, and I think that shouldn't be there. But of course, mainstream people who call themselves Christians just go for the cultural aspect of Santa Claus. But yeah. Ross, I hope you got the message of the naughty chair. The naughty chair is if you're boring, that's where you fucking go. Am I sad Victorian Socialists didn't win the seat in our house? Not sad, because I'm not a socialist and don't support the Victorian Socialist Party. Might have been interesting, might have been funny if there was someone from the Socialist Party in the Senate. So we may have missed out on some entertainment by not getting a socialist in there. But I mean, you know, there's some fun people like Fiona Patten from the Reason Party, formerly the Sex Party, somewhat surprisingly retained her Senate seat because it didn't look like she was going to, and it took 2 weeks to get the final result, but she did retain her Senate seat. So, you know, she's got her head screwed on pretty well. So yeah. Yes, musical aviator, happy Saturnalia. Pax Romana. Okay, good. Santa was actually banned in your house because of really Orthodox Christian parents. Didn't exist. No. And you are right that it turns out Jesus didn't either. So, you know, spoiler alert. Oh, really? Musical aviator. You're saying Saturnalia even had the Santa hat. Oh, nice. And everyone wore them. So everyone was Santa. There's a little bit of Santa in everyone. That's nice. Actually, I'm fidgeting with these things from the supermarket. You're supposed to like put them together, and they're quite vexing. Ross Smith, there is zero doubt whatsoever that human-caused climate change is real. The research done over decades has proven it. There is nothing even remotely credible providing an alternative solution, and anyone who's still trying to assert that human-caused climate change isn't real and we aren't staring down the barrel of catastrophic results of it, anyone who asserts that is a fucking moron and deserves a lot worse than being ignored. But for tonight, I'll stick with ignoring. The decades of scientific research has proven what is happening and has shown unequivocally. And nobody, if someone wanted to be the most famous scientist in the world, all they'd have to do is show that humans weren't causing climate change. That would be the #1 way to be the most famous scientist in the world. But that isn't going to happen because there is simply no credible alternative explanation for what's happening. All of the evidence, all of it, points to the one conclusion. And anyone who says otherwise is either thick as shit or a lying, shit-sucking, evil cunt who's prepared to lie about the worst threat humanity has ever faced. Fuck anyone who does that. Oh my God, I shared this tweet on Facebook this week. It was some lunatic from the US. He has a Twitter handle, and I think he has a website as well that he calls Junk Science. And for those who don't know, junk science was a term invented during the Reagan administration to discredit any scientific research they didn't like. And so it's a pretty fucking evil thing to do. But anyway, this guy is so convinced that climate change is real. I'll actually find it to quote it directly, because it's so far out there. Like it's this double whammy of being a mind-blowingly stupid thing to say, but this person is also so clearly self-satisfied. They feel like they're showing the world how super smart they are, when it's like an absolutely mind-blowingly stupid thing to say. Because he's reacting to someone saying climate change is an existential threat. And I think the phrase the person used was an existential threat to the planet. And realistically, it's not an existential threat to the planet. It's just to humans and other life forms. So what he's quoted someone who says, oh, this guy DeFazio says climate, this is the existential threat to the future of the planet. And he says that's insanity. For comparison, the atmosphere of Venus is 96.5% carbon dioxide, and the planet's still there. In contrast, Earth's atmosphere is only 0.4% CO2. And it's just like, what? You're citing Venus, the planet with like over 400 degrees Celsius as a surface temperature? And although, look, maybe the person that he's quoting used a poorly chosen word, but they're just trying to say, yeah, it's an existential threat to the planet. The planet's going to continue to exist. That's not up for question. It's the things living on the face of the planet that are going to suffer. And the fact that this guy said something so stupid, and he's so proud of saying something so stupid. It's like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, you're a boring cunt. Why the fuck did I ever waste? It's like every single time I waste time on a troll, they prove to be utterly worthless. Like, they argue in bad faith. They're just a waste of time. But anyway, RC, yes, you've got on me, and I'm definitely QAnon. If anyone ever wants a combination of a good laugh and feeling terrified, look up the QAnon conspiracy, because it is mind-blowing. I think a significant number of people who post in the QAnon forums and on Twitter are just trolls, like they're taking the piss. But there is a goodly chunk of people who believe it. And this stuff is some of the most deranged conspiracy theories imaginable. Like, I haven't, okay, see, I haven't made a video about QAnon saying what a pack of idiots they are, because they're dangerous. They are, and a significant number of them are mentally unstable and dangerous. And I don't want a fucking horde of mentally unstable, violent people fixating on me. You know, it just doesn't seem like a good idea. Yeah, they are so far out there. And Keiko, I reckon you've hit on something that a lot of people deny climate change because it scares them too much. It is really terrifying to admit that something like that happens that you personally can't do anything about. I think that's a quite valid observation that some people climate change deniers simply as a mental self-protection because they can't face the truth of it. Because the truth of it's pretty fucking awful. Was it, Justin? It is sad. We have a troll in the White House. Not even a smart troll. Not even a smart troll. But as we start getting more and more convictions in Trump world, it's hotting up. You know, you get his campaign advisor and his lawyer, both convicted and facing jail time. You're thinking, and in fact, I think it was with his lawyer, the actual judgment basically explicitly said in committing this criminal act, he was acting under Trump's direct instruction. So there's already a finding by a court that said Trump is part of a criminal conspiracy. It's like, ooh, okay, that's pretty wild. And then the Democrats come in the new year, the numbers in the House change, and the Democrats can launch all sorts of inquiries and whatnot, particularly if Mueller gives them all these evidence. So next year might be real interesting. Who knows? That means foxification reduced your power consumption. That's good. Oh, wow. You buy e-waste and recycle it. That is good, actually. That's one of the biggest problems with humans, our production of waste. Was that RC? You get pissed off being told climate change is bullshit. Oh, yes, by people who know they'll be dead before it really starts kicking stuff. Yeah, people who are already 60, 70 plus who probably won't see really severe change in the next 20 years. Probably will in the next 50 years. Certainly in 100 years, it'll be catastrophic. I actually like, you get the things on the power bills here, and they tell you the average power consumption, you know, number of people in the house. Yeah, and I'm always happy. It's like, oh, look at that. I'm like half the average for the number of people in the house. I actually quite like that they put that on the power bills. And Keiko, you raise a good point. While us taking individual action is good, it's the corporations that have real control. They're controlling 70% of the world's emissions. Now, a lot of that comes down to us as well, but it's what the corporations are doing that drives it, definitely. But, you know, I don't, like that most recent report where they just basically threw their arms up and said, none of you fucking realize how bad this is. You know, we are on the cusp of it being, of catastrophe, being irreversible, you know, sort of worldwide destruction. This is the thing, people don't realize half the world probably won't have food or water, won't have sufficient food or water. And that's, you think there's problems with refugees now. That's going to bring some serious refugee issues in. You're literally looking at millions of refugees being displaced around the world. And like, you know, you got all these people saying, we've got to secure our borders. Like, dude, you won't be able to. The sheer number of refugees will be so high, you know, they'll be moving in masses of millions of people, and you won't be able to do anything about it. So yeah, the sort of human catastrophe we're facing is bizarre. Oh yeah, no, you're right, Miss Foxification. That there are a couple of tripping effects, like if we lose the permafrost, that will accelerate everything even more. And yeah, and then we start to get to, yes, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees Celsius changes, which is going to be catastrophic for all life on the planet. And so, yay, go us. I hope the microbes in the next billion years evolve into something smarter. But yes. And yeah, okay, musically about it. We are in the coming years going to see an increasing number of desperate and stupid ideas. People avoiding what we really need to be doing, what we have needed to be doing for decades, and trying to come up with a miracle cure. And there'll be lots of people saying, oh, I have the science too. And people have already started saying, oh, we should spray chemicals into the air to reduce the amount of sunlight that gets in. And it's just like, dude, we're in a close, no one knows, even if you had a technology that could successfully do that, no one knows what the effect would be, how toxic it would be, and it's just like, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, you know, it's like, oh, we could do what we know we have to do, reduce emissions, change how we do power, all those fun things, or we could do just wild shit like, hey, why don't we spray possibly toxic chemicals into the air? You know, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? And yes, RC, we all need to buy tickets on the Snowpiercer, because that's the. I'm trying to play. Oh wait, I think I left something out. Look, I made a sled, a Santa sleigh. Wait, why is? Oh God, this is shit. I made a Santa sleigh. I was fidgeting while talking, and I made a Santa sleigh. Go over there, Santa sleigh. Yes. Musically, I've had a giant mirror in space to reflect the sun. That was Futurama, wasn't it? That was one of their things, and the mirror got tilted so it actually reflected the sun's rays even more sharply onto Earth. That means foxification, we need climate-oriented AI machine learning. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you know, I'm liking the idea that's gathering momentum in the US, and it's being championed by that newly elected politician, Ocasio-Cortez. Is it Sylvia Ocasio-Cortez? I always forget her first name. She's got such a cool last name, Ocasio-Cortez. I always remember that. They're calling it the New Green Deal because there's a big thing in the early 20th century with the US president doing what he called the New Deal. It's a big social welfare thing that conservatives hate to this day. But he called it the New Deal. Lots of government investment in infrastructure and jobs to boost the economy. And the idea with the Green New Deal is massive government investment in infrastructure for green projects to create jobs. That's Alexandria. Thank you, Justin. Yes. So it's just I love her surname so much. I always forget her first name. But yeah. So the Green New Deal idea is massive government investment in green projects, which is a double barrel, create jobs, create industry, and, you know, hopefully go some way to alleviating climate change. That'd be good. Zava, you're saying, why is it so common for people on the far right to be climate change deniers? And I'll be honest, and this is cutting people a little bit of slack. because I honestly think a big reason for people on the extreme or even the mainstream right rejecting the idea of climate science is because what's the solution? The solution is what those hideous lefty hippie greenies have been saying for decades. And the people on the right have wholesale rejected this message, the green message, as stupid, boring hippie shit that doesn't make any sense and interferes with me making a profit. And now you get these scientists saying, actually, literally what the hippies said is the only thing that will save humans, is the only thing that will save life on this planet. And so the reflex for so long has been that hippie stuff is bullshit. And now scientists are saying it, and it's going, well, they're just with the hippies. And they are completely shutting themselves off to any objective evaluation of evidence because the message conflicts with their worldview. And a lot of people have trouble with this. This is not unique to conservative people. The majority of people have a lot of trouble with accepting something that conflicts with their worldview, because it's like, it's challenging you. It's telling you you're wrong. I mean, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm smart. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not wrong. And so it leads people to reject evidence because it conflicts with their view of who they are. Like a lot of the people who reject vaccination, they say, because they think vaccines aren't natural. They think, I lead a natural life, natural things are better. Vaccines are artificial things from big drug companies. Big drug companies are evil. There's lots of evidence to support that. So therefore vaccinations are evil. And it's just like, no, dude, the evidence is absolutely incontrovertible. And the justification anti-vaxxers make is bizarre. Like we say, well, no one gets polio anymore. We cured polio, we cured that. And they're going, oh, you say we need vaccines to do that, but people were around before vaccines. What happened then? Well, they fucking died. They straight up died. Infant mortality was so much higher. And they think that's a smart thing to say. What did people do before vaccines? They fucking died is what they did. I think I should have another eggnog. Put some brandy in it. Og, you don't like The Last Jedi. That's okay. Personal taste is a thing. Different people like different things. Okay. Oh, my eggnog. Here's an eggnog from the supermarket. I'm not opening the door, Mimsy. You have to come back and be cute. So, supermarket eggnog. Okay, this is probably the second time in my life I've tried eggnog. I was just doing it for something to do. Eggnog. And I'm going to put some brandy in it because that's apparently traditional. Patman, who do you think will be the next PM to serve full term? I think it'll be Bill Shorten. I'm not a particular fan of his, but I think Labor's going to sweep in the next election, and I think they've learned the lesson of the last couple of years. Public does not like sitting prime ministers being replaced. So I think it'll be Bill Shorten. Yes, Justin, you are right in that many conservatives go economy above everything, prosperity and everything else will follow. The message needs to get through that lack of action on climate change will absolutely obliterate the world economy and it won't recover. So this is the first time I have tried eggnog with brandy. That's okay. My mustache. Yeah, I mean, I rewatched The Last Jedi a little while ago, and it's fucking great. I love it. Like from the first moment, with Poe Dameron attacking the Dreadnought, it's like fucking awesome. Like it just lets rip with this huge action sequence to start with, and it just keeps going. I reckon it's a great movie. But I don't object to people having taste that's different to mine. Miss Foxification, you may well be right. China continues to aggressively develop green tech to dominate the world economy. Look at Batman, a bit of history. Labour were the OG crossbench party, came third at the 1901 election. When was the first time they had power in their own right? Wasn't until the 1930s, was it? Alison, you think we're losing the battle when we label people as climate deniers? It's a descriptive term. When people deny the thoroughly proven scientific evidence, what else are you going to call them? Fuckwits, pieces of shit, cunts who need to be dragged into the street and beaten. These are all alternative titles I'm willing to play with. Safa, what do I think about the milk? You mean the eggnog or the milk? I'm not sure what you're asking. Musically aviator. Yeah, look, it was the thing. My main thing with people who criticize The Last Jedi, and like I said, people have different taste, and that's fine. And ignoring the trolls who were just trolls. My big thing is you cannot level an accusation, a criticism against The Last Jedi that you can't land on every other Star Wars movie, usually to a much greater degree. Yes. Or you think the worst bit was the slow speed space chase, but the best bit was Holdo's suicide thing. That was pretty fucking awesome. And I got various shit for brains criticisms of that too. It's like literally every single, particularly if people talk about plot holes or that didn't make sense, I can shoot down every criticism people had of it. Down to the only thing I can't shoot down is I watched it and didn't like it. That's fine. If you watched it and didn't like it, that is a personal taste thing. And it's pointless to argue with someone about personal taste. But it's also important in this particular case for people to acknowledge the trolls who were just causing trouble. Oh, Justin, you're saying the Australian Labor government was the first Labor government in the world. And there was one, so England, we had this discussion in the last live stream, I think, about the Labor Prime Minister in England who invented the National Health Service and various other lefty things. Alison, man-made global warming is horrible. We need to sell our message better. I get where you're coming from. I don't get how we sell it better than the science is in, the evidence is conclusive, all the studies are incontrovertible. Do something radical or we're all going to fucking die. I mean, you know, I'm not sure how much more clear you can get with people. Oh, Batman, you're saying Labor had a majority government after the 1910 election. Maybe I was thinking about England, that it wasn't until around World War II that they had a majority Labor government. Safi, you wanted Akbar to do the mission. Because then he could say it like, you stopped paying attention to me. It was a trap. Musical aviator, I don't know where you're getting that interpretation that the First Order in The Force Awakens was an unknown boogeyman in the shadows. To me, it was very clear that after the collapse of central control of the Empire, all the fascists who weren't dead picked up the bits and pieces of the Empire's industrial military complex and ran with it. And they spent a couple of decades building up their power. I thought it was quite clearly laid out in Force Awakens that the First Order had been building their power for decades, and they were the dominant military force in the galaxy. Just throwing it out there. Misfoxification, that's a nice positive thing. Try and empower people. You try, we can change this, you can change this. And you're right, you are right that if people feel completely powerless, retreating into ignorance is comforting. What's the old saying? Most people prefer a comforting lie to a painful truth. It is part of the human condition, I think, to deny things that trouble us. Yes, Arthur, you're right. The people who focus on the short-term economics rather than the long-term implications seem to want a Mad Max world. That's why I periodically rewatch Fury Road. First, because it's an absolutely awesome movie, just a fantastic cinematic experience. But second, because I feel it's like a training video for the future we inevitably face. So, you know, there's a bunch of good survival tips in there, you know, how things are gonna be. But it helps that it's just a super good movie as well. Yes, musical there. That's actually a pretty good parallel to go back to Star Wars again. It's like, you know, Germany being sufficiently weakened after World War One. How did that work out? That's like, yeah, the destruction of the empire wasn't the destruction. It was just a change in the power structure. Oh, A8, jumping on in there with Melinda Tankard-Reist and a Forensic Collective shout, fuck those people. Really? Fuck them. They what we call SWERFs, sex worker excluding radical feminists. It is perfectly possible to have a conversation about sex work and porn and say, look, this stuff happens. I think that's bad. I think we should do something to deal with that. I think we should get rid of exploitation. I think we should punish anyone who exploits or traffics people. And I'd be 100% behind that. But yeah, Melinda Tankard-Reist and her fucking sidekicks are absolutely divorced from reality. They deny sex workers any voice. They straight up say no sex worker has agency. No sex worker is able to make a rational call because they're trapped. The pimps have got them. And it's just insulting. Yeah, God, the last time I saw her on TV, it was just this ridiculous bullshit. She's straight up saying all porn should be banned. And it's going, well, say that as much as you like. Accept reality. That is literally never going to happen, no matter what. Like, porns exist as long as humans have existed. And there are a few people on that who called themselves makers of ethical porn. They go, well, what we should do is get rid of the exploitation, and they describe what they do where they avoid exploitation. They called it ethical porn. And Tankard-Reist just goes, no such thing. No, shouldn't, no, don't want to condone anything you do. It's just like, you've got to live in reality. You've got to live in reality. It's like saying, the fucking idiot New South Wales Premier refusing to do pill testing for music festivals. Like, just don't do drugs. You don't need to take drugs to have fun. It's like, get fucking real. You can make that argument. People shouldn't take drugs. It would be better if people didn't take drugs. You need to accept people are going to take drugs, and you will never stop that. So if you've got a good harm minimization strategy, fucking use it. So, are you saying porn's banned in the NT? I thought it was the NT was the only place where it was legal. Yes, Safi, you'd have to declare porn DVDs. Although, does anyone still sell DVDs? I think all those sex shops have just changed their business model. They sell like toys now and vape gear. Does anyone pay for porn anymore? But even though, all the sex shops have been openly selling porn DVDs since the 90s, outside of the Northern Territory and the ACT, that's illegal. So all those shops selling that stuff, at any moment, the cops could raid them and charge them, and they get convicted of quite serious crimes because it's illegal. It's just everyone just accepts it, but it is illegal. The Alison, darkest days, racist, anti-refugee, white nationalist gave Abbott thought, oh, Abbott's pretty goddamn evil. There is no two ways about it. Yeah. See, that's what I was saying, Musical Aviator. I thought Pornhub had completely wiped out the DVD market, but apparently it's still there, See, I'm old enough that I saw the pattern. Hardcore porn only got made illegal in Australia, and this was in most of Australia, in the 80s, the early 80s. Prior to that, it was legal. Then it got made illegal, and the only place you could get it was Canberra, like the ACT and the Northern Territory. And they had a thriving mail order business happening. And then in the, when did it start reappearing? Probably the early 90s, like 10 years after it was banned, essentially. It started to sort of sneakily reappear in some sex shops in a very clandestine way. All they were selling openly was porno mags. They were still legal, but videos weren't. And it started reappearing sort of clandestinely and secretly. And then no one got busted after that for a few years. And then someone went, just, fuck it, I'm just going to sell them out in the open. And they started doing it and they never got busted. So certainly since the late 90s, even though it's illegal, it's been openly sold. Then, of course, it got overtaken by the internet anyway. So. Tendo, you are right. Not everyone has access to the internet. Maybe some people are just old school. They just like having a disc. Who knows? So actually, if you haven't seen it, there was a good Australian sort of comedic drama about a hitman. It was Mr. something. I'm going to try and find Australian series. Mr. In Between. Mr. In Between. Holy crap, it was good. Like, the lead actor is so good at underplaying. Like, he's an enforcer, occasional hitman for a small-time crim. If you're looking for something to watch and you can get a hold of this one, I definitely recommend it, Mr. In Between. The reason I thought of it is because a mate of his, as a Russian wife, gets in trouble when his wife finds this porno DVD. It's a pissing DVD. And he calls up the dude and says, I need you to do me a favor. My wife found this DVD and I said it was yours. Can you come around and say it was yours and take it back, and I'll owe you a favor? And he's going, really? And he comes around and it's like a he just thought it was a porno. He comes around and it's a pissing fetish DVD, and the Russian wife is looking at him going, "You filthy little man, why do you like this?" And he's just sort of like gritting his teeth, going, and he goes outside with his mate, and he doesn't say anything. This guy is so good at communicating a lot while saying nothing or very little, and he just looks at the guy and just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, mate, I owe you." And he's going, "Really? This is what you're into?" He goes, "Oh, I'm into normal stuff as well." It's just like, that was just one thing, but it is a really good show, Mr. In Between, if you know. But yes. Oh, wow. Musical Aviator. You had your internet die for 2 months, which I don't think I'd survive if that happened to me. And you're in an internet cafe and there's a dude watching porn at 10. Who watches it in public? Honestly, what the fuck? There's a picture I saw like on a meme site, image sharing site. Someone had taken a picture. They were on a bus, and there's this old dude. He's got there's a tablet or a laptop, and he's got headphones on, and he's carefully got it facing away from everyone, so no one knows what he's up to. And it's reflected in the window behind him. He's watching porn, and it's like, in public, really? I mean, I don't watch porn for the plot line. I mean, you know, it's a private thing as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, Tendai, in Mr. In Between, you think the pissing tape was from Trump's secret stash? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know, like I mean, there is so much going on with the Trump stuff, and it's borderline impossible to keep up with it all. But Trump and some of his supporters in the last week or two have been coming back to the dossier. Does everyone remember the dossier? That's where the story of the P tape comes from. And quick background for those who don't know, politicians everywhere do this, but it's quite a big thing in the US with the elections come up. For the major elections, they do what's called opposition research. And your own side, if you're a candidate or a likely candidate, your own side will do a lot of investigating, trying to find all the dirt on you, because what they want to know, the worst dirt on you before the other side does. So they want to know either they should dump you as a candidate because the dirt's too bad, or they prepare a defense for it. But they want to know the worst about you before the opposition finds out about it. So the dossier originally was actually funded by Republicans because they wanted to know what's the worst dirt anyone could get on Trump. And it was done by an English guy who worked with the Secret Service in England. And here's the big thing. The information that's in the dossier, both the stuff we know, like the P tape, and there'll be stuff in it we don't know, it may not be true. It may not be accurate. But I've seen enough people to say, like, no, forget about the conspiracies. This is bog standard opposition research done by someone who was trusted to come up with real information. On the balance of probabilities, it's probably true. Might not be. I'm not one of those people who swears blind it's true, but there's still that, like, that's all faded because of the outright criminality and traitorous behavior of Trump and his cronies. But, you know, just fun stuff like the P tape might still come out. It's just so fucked up. It's so fucked up. I actually agree with you, Keiko. People watching porn in public is basically sexual harassment. It's unacceptable. I read it was like in an advice column, and I thought it was really clever. And it's this woman who said like she's into fairly full-on BDSM relationship, and through social media, I know lots of people who are into the scene, and you know, well and good. If that's your thing, you go for it. But this woman decided it was going to carry out from her private life into her work life. And so she was wearing a collar to work, which possibly in and of itself you could go with. But when her boyfriend came to see her at work, she'd be calling him master in front of everyone and acting submissive. And her workmates were very uncomfortable with this. And she said, that's not fair of them. That's kink shaming. And the response from someone who was a BDSM mistress was basically, well, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is the key thing in BDSM? It's consent. The only way your relationship is healthy is if everything is governed by consent. And what are you doing? You are imposing your life on people who haven't consented. You are abusing the central tenet of the BDSM lifestyle by not getting consent from those other people that you are forcing to be part of your lifestyle. Like, you fucked up here, not them. And that was good. Okay, was the Ask a Manager. It might have been Ask a Manager. I don't remember exactly where it was. But yes, and then all the people I know on social media who were into the scene, they were 100% behind this response. They were like, yeah, it's consent and you're blowing it. And Justin, I agree with you. Someone who gets busted for watching porn at work, what the fuck? What the fuck are they? As I say, some people have an uncontrollable compulsion. I hesitate to call it an addiction, but certainly it's a compulsion that a lot of people have a lot of trouble resisting. But yeah, it's been, oh God, it reminded me years ago, I was working for an insurance company, and this dude got fired when people realized he was doing lines of speed, like in the toilets at work. And so he was basically ripped almost every day at work. He was just, you know, like going into the toilets and doing lines of speed. And he got found out and got fired. And what was hilarious was the reactions from the everyone in the workplace. It was divided into two groups. There was one group that went, that's terrible. He was on drugs. That's awful. How could you do that? And the other reaction was, who the fuck is gonna waste their drugs by doing them at work? What the fuck? You can't have a good time at work. Who does that? And Pat, yeah, how did he get caught? I don't know how he got caught. Look, maybe it was literally, maybe he got sloppy and like he was doing rails off a fucking wash basin bench and someone saw him. I don't know, but he got caught doing speed at work. But it was really funny to me that the reactions were divided into two groups. Almost, he was doing drugs is bad. And the other people saying, doing drugs at work is stupid. That's such a waste. You can't have a good time at work. Why would you do drugs at work? That would just make work worse. It's just like, learned a lot about people from how they responded to that. So, yeah. And I have to admit, I have a bit of a bad sense of humor. There were some ads about ice, like crystal meth, and how it can affect anyone in your track. And one of it is this one of the people in the ad being affected by it is like an executive. He's in his glass office with his suit on, but he's totally strung out and he's freaking out, and everyone's sort of seeing through the glass going, "What's happened to Roger?" And I watched that and went, I know it makes me bad, but I would find it super funny to have an executive in an office go on a crystal meth bender and lose their shit, because that would be weird. I know that makes me bad, but yeah. So, Mr. Nine, you don't think watching porn in public was sexual harassment? Yeah, it is. I get where you're coming from. It's unreasonable behavior. It's not good. Bury, that's the thing that people are saying about Trump, yeah, that he snorts Adderall, which is a sort of amphetamine. It actually is. It's a sort of amphetamine. Who knows? It's with Trump, you don't know what's real, because there's stuff that we categorically know is definitely 100% true. And it's so fucking far out there. You go, when someone says, "Oh, he snorts Adderall all day," you go, "Yeah, probably. Fuck, yeah." You know, P-tape, yeah, that's probably real. He's fucked. And it's just like, it's just so fucking weird. But yeah, the whole world is weird. Patman, how big a swing do I think Labor will get? I think the opinion polls are telling the story, and recent elections, both the Victorian state election and a couple of federal by-elections, tell the story. The Libs will be extremely lucky if they only get a 10% swing against it. 10% swing is massive, and they will be lucky. They will be so lucky if they keep the swing to under 10%. And most assessments is, look, electorally, an ordinary night for Labor would be to pick up 20, 25, 30 seats, which is a huge change in the face of the parliament. A bad night for the Liberals is losing 40 or 50 seats, the Liberals being left with like less than 20 seats. Like, a bad night for the LNP at the next election is humiliation, like brutal, brutal, brutal humiliation. That's not the most likely outcome, but it's distinctly possible. The most likely outcome is a swing in the region of 10% and Labor picking up 20 to 30 seats. The really out there result is where Labor wins 40 to 50 seats. Thanks for throwing that one in there too, Safa. Yes, Trump wants to bang his daughter. Trump is sexually obsessed with his daughter Ivanka, and it's creepy as hell. Yes. Hey, it's Justin. You're right. Kooyong might fall to Labor. Really, really, really safe seats might fall to Labor. They might. Music, yeah, you're right. Game of Thrones in public could be a bit dodgy, because it's not just titties in Games of Thrones. There's some quite violent sexual scenes in Game of Thrones. It's a little bit confrontational. Alison, you want the ALP to get a massive record-breaking swing. That's distinctly possible. Oh, you want Abbott to pay? There's a reasonable chance Abbott's in trouble. I think if a Conservative independent runs against Abbott, he's in serious trouble, really serious trouble. Man, how close will the Nats come to being wiped out? The Nats are probably in trouble as well. They'll be under pressure from Labor in some seats, but possibly as big, if not bigger threat to the Nats is Conservative independence. if Conservative independents run in national seats and say, we're running because the National Party doesn't support people. The National Party sells us out to the Liberal Party. The National Party are shit. We need a true local Conservative who will push real local issues. That sort of thing is a really significant threat to the Nats. Yeah, so for Cathy McGowan is one. Oh, Mr. Nine, you're not wrong about Trump defenders being capable of denying. Was the one? There's another thing I shared this week, and it was just an example of how far Trump supporters will go with their denial and their deflection. Oh, there is this is just funny. It's stupid, but it's funny. There's a website. There's possibly a magazine that goes with it called The Federalist. They regard themselves as the voice of conservative reason and blah, blah, blah. And they're hardcore Trump supporters. And they published this article recently. And the headline is, "You're not allowed to knock Trump for Stormy Daniels if you watch porn," which is a super weird thing to say. Because just on one level, they're saying, hey, there's no actual difference between watching porn and fucking a porn star. It's like, really? You think those are the same? Okay. But it's ignoring the real point. I don't give a shit that Trump had sex with a porn star or multiple porn stars. I don't give a shit. It's the position he represents and the views he promotes about, you know, conservative Christian thing. While he's married, he did it while he was married, then he paid to cover it up, then he lied about the cover up. Now there's evidence that he may have actually used his electoral funds to pay off women, which is a breach of law. So the real things that there's a problem is not that he had sex with Stormy Daniels, it's the hypocrisy of the positions he takes, plus he paid them off for silence, lied about the payoff, and quite possibly broke quite serious campaign laws in doing it. It's not that she's a porn star. That isn't the issue. These people are so fucking weird. Oh yeah, Justin, I saw Rob Oakeshott is making an announcement he's going to run again. He'll probably get in. He was very popular. There was a real backlash against him and Tony Windsor for supporting the Gillard minority government. But the years of fuckery that's happened in the meantime, I think, have vindicated him and Tony Windsor thoroughly. It's like, no, Abbott and crew were psychopaths. It was a mug's game to support them. So, incidentally, I am going to say I'm in favour of brandy and eggnog. Just throwing that out there as well. Oh, that's not bad. I might sleep in tomorrow. It's like last day at work. Who fucking cares if I show up on time? Probably leave early as well. What have you got there, Mimsy? Oh my God. Someone left their dinner bowl there and Mimsy's found something to eat in it. No, I mean, I'm in the kitchen, so the sink's just there. And she's found a bowl that had something she wanted to eat in. Fair enough. Bad habit, but... Yes, Mr. Nine, fuck Trump, but not literally. Justin, try Bailey's in eggnog. I'm not a huge fan of Bailey's. I don't have any. I could try, I've got a white chocolate liqueur up there, which is super nice. Might have that in some eggnog. Patman, where's work after New Year's? Same place. They're just shutting down for 2 weeks. That's become an increasingly common thing with offices since they worked out that no one works at that time of year anyway. And if they do like an enforced shutdown for 2 weeks, so like permanents have to take leave and contractors like me just don't get paid, it saves them a fucking fortune. Like that's a really significant amount of money for a major company to effectively not pay anyone for 2 weeks. That's a huge amount of money. But yes. Tindo, how do we get onto pina coladas and getting caught in the rain? Oh, Justin, you're saying the public service is a week off with no leave deducted. That's okay. This is not the public sector, so I'm assuming permanents have to take 2 weeks leave. I'm honestly not 100% sure, so don't bloody quote me on this. But yeah, with contractors, it's just like, yeah, you're just not working for 2 weeks, not getting paid for 2 weeks. Frank, you just made it, buddy. 5 minutes to spare. Nicely done. Misclassification. Just throwing in there, you think Trump's environmental measures could have treason charges if they can prove how damaging they are? In principle, I agree with that, but I don't think America has the appetite for that. Plus, there's 50 more straightforward things to get him on. So, I mean, personally, I think, yeah, definitely. But yes. Yes, Frank, how much shite can you chat in the span of 5 minutes? You can do it, buddy. You can do it. Yes, musical aid, yeah, to the Pina Colada song about 70s Tinder, which was personal ads in newspapers. And that song still weirds me out. That was like a #1 worldwide hit. And for those who don't know it, there's a guy who says, like, I'm getting bored with my wife, so I looked in the personal ads to see if anyone wanted to have a fling, and I found one that caught my eye. And then there's the chorus of the song that says, do you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain? If you're not into health food, if you're into champagne, if you like making love at midnight in the dunes by the Cape, I'm the love that you've looked for, write to me and escape. How tragic is it that after all these decades, I still know those words? And anyway, so he arranges to meet this woman, and it turns out to be his wife. Turns out they were both bored. And as you'd think this is now going to be a big fight, because he replied, the second chorus is, yes, I like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. And then they meet each other and she goes, oh, it's only you. But then it's like they look at each other with new light in their eyes going, I didn't know you like pina coladas. And so it rejuvenates their relationships. Really? Really? You both just clandestinely went out there to fuck someone else and that reinvigorated your relationship? Man, the 70s were weird. 70s were really weird. Was that Frank? Last night you got a bit tipsy, 6 cans. Not sentimental. Told everyone you loved them. You didn't tell me you loved me, Frank. You didn't tell me. Yes, Kate Bush's Babushka, which is a much better song. But that's a wife who thinks her husband's gone astray. So she starts sending him love letters to tempt him. And the only reason that they appeal to the husband at all is because they sound like his wife before she got a bit bitter and twisted. And but it's a similar thing. Of the two timing. But yeah, I don't think Babushka ends happily. Whereas Pina Colada song ends happily. Alison, you reckon Oakshot's run in every election? Okay. Again, this is not something I'd assert true. I didn't know that. I thought, because Tony Windsor didn't, I thought after they supported Gillard, they knew there was a massive backlash against them, and they didn't want to give the Nationals the satisfaction of beating them in elections, so neither of them ran. I'm definitely not saying you're wrong, because there's no way I know for sure. In my mind, I just thought Oakshott hadn't been running. So yeah. Safi, take the final countdown. Always on pubs. Fair enough, Frank. Focus on the ladies and the female presenting NBs. Fair enough. I should put you in touch. I think she's still there. There's a YouTube friend of mine from the States, Kesha, is on holiday in London at the moment. I don't know if you have any time, Frank, to show anyone around. And I'm actually not sure how much longer she's there. But she came to Australia a couple of years ago and she wanted something different. So she treated herself to a holiday to jolly old England. But yeah, I have globetrotting friends. I haven't traveled for ages. It's been years. Like, in fact, last time I traveled, I caught up with Frank because I was in London for a day or two and we hung out. So yeah. Patman, you spoke to your bookie who's offering odds shorten for PM at $1.10. So that's almost even money. Frankie, you're laughing at Milo, Sargon, and everyone who lost a paper. Oh God, Keiko, I'd love to come back to Sussex. Yes. I'm sure Mrs. Angry, because all her family's in England. That's why we go there occasionally to visit her family. But I would like to do it again sometime. I haven't, it was a couple of years, 2 years last time I was there, 2 years or 3 years. I lose track. Yeah, I haven't traveled that much. I would definitely like to travel more. Oh yeah, there'd be a fun thing to go out on, the PayPals, particularly with sad fuck of arse hats who had so many harassment campaigns against me. These people who'd gotten used to being able to make money from YouTube or Patreon, and they get the YouTube accounts shut down, or most notably, these really high-profile right-wing shit stirrers got their Patreon shut down. This is my favorite thing I learned. Like, I thought it was good enough that sad fuck of arse hats got his Patreon shut down and he was crying into his cocaine about it. But the corollary effect is apparently a significant chunk of people who'd been supporting him on Patreon. I'm so disgusted by Patreon's actions, and because Patreon gets a cut of all the money that goes to the people who use the platform. They go, oh, I'm going to hurt Patreon. I'm not going to support anyone on Patreon. I'm leaving the Patreon guy. So a whole bunch of these other right-wing fuckheads who weren't as popular but were making some money off Patreon, they lost a bunch of their Patreon money because a bunch of their supporters left the platform altogether. So they lost money as well. So it's win-win. It's like fantastic. And these arseholes expect you to feel sorry for them. Fuck them. Safi, I wonder if InfoWars still makes money. Well, before Patreon and YouTube, InfoWars made money by selling bullshit DVDs and those supplements they sell. And I don't think InfoWars is particularly in trouble with any credit card companies. I don't know, they might be, but I don't think InfoWars is in big trouble with any credit card companies. They're in trouble with advertisers, but they probably still make money selling shit to stupid people. Mimsy wants more attention. I'm going to go to bed, Mimsy. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to bed. Alison, Friends African, lives in Oakshot's electorate. Ripped him a new one for not calling out Gillard for voting no to marriage equality when she's PM. That's an interesting one. That thing of the Gillard government not supporting marriage equality was a really, really I'm trying to think if it's a good example or a bad example, but it's the epitome of when politics gets really fucked. For those who don't know, Julia Gillard was she was our Prime Minister. She was atheist. She was shacked up with her dude, not married, chose to be child-free. All these things that are supposedly, you know, you can't get away with doing. She was all those things, and she was under constant misogynist attack. And one of her most senior team members, Penny Wong, is openly gay. And Penny Wong had to toe the party line that Labor weren't supporting marriage equality. And the reason was, and I know Gillard would have had to have a heart-to-heart with Penny Wong about it. It's obvious Gillard is in favour of marriage equality, but her and her strategists just went, we can't open another battlefront. We're besieged really badly at the moment. Opening another culture war battlefront by bringing up marriage equality, we won't survive it. We can't survive it. Even though it's obviously what we want, we can't support it. And so Gillard said, no, we're not pushing marriage equality. She never came out and said, oh, because I can't afford to take another hit. But that was why, that was like politics at its most fucked. Gillard selling out one of her most senior people in the name of political expedience. It was like, for me, it was like the ultimate example of politics is shit, and it's so hard to be anything but a shit person in politics. Yeah, I finished my eggnog, running a little bit over. So yeah. Oh yeah, sorry Frank, I did see you say, did I see the Alex Jones big titties? Yes, yes, yes. Kevin Bloody Logan shared this photo shared this photoshopped picture of Alex Jones with big titties. Coco gotta go, I gotta go too. Very good to see you. Yes, that was a nightmare-inducing bit of Photoshop. Alex Jones with big hairy titties. Yeah, no, that's all kinds of not good. So yes, okay, that's my eggnog gone. So I'm gonna go to bed. As usual, wonderful time with all of you wonderful people. I hope you look after yourselves. If we don't interact before, you know, enjoy the rest of the year. If you celebrate Christmas, enjoy Christmas. Have a good New Year. I mean, obviously, I'm going to pop up on to interwebs lots between now and then. Hi, Nee, you've been quiet. Good night, mate. Yes, whether I see you in the coming week or into the new year, I hope you take care of yourselves. Oh, yes, thanks, Miss Foxication, with the thumbs up. Sub if you're not subbed. Yes, bar humbug, Frank. Take care, one and all. Happy non-denominational, gender-neutral seasonal greetings, one and all. And I will see you all later. Bye for now. I click the start.